A compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
Under the Stone of History. Although he searched for minerals but not a historical sensation, he found both. It was in Қарсақпай in 1935. Young geologist Қаныш Сатпаев was dispatched to the Jezqazgan region. There were a lot of rock formations and a stone slab with characters on it. It concerns the passage of Tamerlan through this place. He left this stone to mark his staying here, and this stone remained here for many centuries. Satpayev did not describe in details how he had discovered the find. According to some data, it happened by chance. According to different information, local residents told him about it. The legends say that Tamerlan passed through this place when going to war against Toktamish. We found Қаныш Сатпаев near a huge stone. We found a treasure more precious than gold at the Altyn Shoki. He said that we couldn't even scrape the stone using a geologist's hammer. 3 people couldn't move it from its place. In order to take a good picture, the inscription was whitened with a tooth powder. Later, this stone was sent to the Hermitage. Although this stone is not large, its historical significance is enormous. It is in the 48th hall of the Hermitage. In 1936, the slab already was in the Hermitage. In the late 1940s, these inscriptions were deciphered. There are 11 lines. 3 of them are in the Arabic language, the other 8 are in the Chagatai dialect. It is interesting that the Қарсақпай find awakened an interest in the Tamerlan in the Soviet Union. Many people associate some mystical coincidences with this stone. They read the inscription saying that it was Tamerlan who passed through this area and left the stone to mark this event. It is considered that his actions led to the destruction of the Golden Horde. The Crimean Khanate, the future Kazakh Khanate, and many others such as the Siberian Khanate and the Khanate of Kazan were formed like the remnants of the Golden Horde. Chapter 1: The Union Between Treachery and Betrayal. He ordered stone masons to inscribe the big name and date in order for the memories of this campaign to remain on the face of time. Asking for divine guidance before starting a campaign was part of a magical ritual. However, it seems a bit strange that Tamerlan, when going to battle against the Juche descendants, put up the stone in place where the mausoleum of the Ulus founder was situated. The inscription on that stone said, "In the summer of 793, the year of the sheep, in the middle spring month, Tamerlan, for the sake of his name, went together with 200,000 of his warriors to fight against Toktamish, the Khan of the Golden Horde." In the late 14th century, the Golden Horde was the main enemy of Tamerlan, and he did his best to trigger its destruction. It was the reason why he helped Toktamish, who was a pretender to the throne of the Golden Horde. He helped him. We can say that he put him on the throne. He channeled all his efforts into it. Tamerlan hoped that Toktamish would be devoted to him, but the plans of the Golden Horde's Khan Toktamish were different. Dmitry Donskoy defeated Mamai. After that, Toktamish inflicted a crushing defeat on him too, and united 2 parts of Juche's Ulus. In 1380, Toktamish Khan seized the power in the Golden Horde. He intended to revive the previous might of the Golden Horde, and he achieved this aim. Or he almost achieved his aim. Toktamish formed a large military force, conquered new areas, and was on friendly terms with Tamerlan's enemies. They had a common interest in Iran, Azerbaijan, and the Caucasus. Tamerlan did not like that. The state of the Juches was in conflict with Tamerlan over a number of matters. First, it concerned the ownership of some Sirdarya cities, in particular the city of Sauran, because Toktamish was displeased that Tamerlan had seized power over this city. It was obvious that Toktamish looked forward to an armed conflict. He was Genghis Khan's descendant, and he did not want to be an ally of Tamerlan, who was not a descendant of Genghis Khan. Chapter 2. The War Between Land and Sky. Tamerlan left Samarkand and spent winter in Tashkent. In April 1391, he ordered to carve that inscription in a stone in the Қарсақпай area and went to Toktamish. Here we can see the place where the inscription was carved. It's called Tamerlan's inscription. His words are on the stone. Tamerlan was not going to conquer the areas of the Golden Horde. He probably wanted to conquer only the cities along the Sirdarya. His aim was to weaken Juches Ulus, which posed a great threat. Toktamish was audacious and became dangerous very quickly. In addition, he managed to win over the Egyptian Mamluks, Baghdad Sultan and the Ottoman Turks, dissatisfied with the Tamerlan. As a result, the so-called Continental Union was formed. Tamerlan tried to conquest all the time. Sometimes his kingdom was unprotected and representatives of the Golden Horde, especially Toktamish, took advantage of this. In total, Tamerlan waged 3 campaigns against Toktamish. The inscription was carved in the stone during the second campaign. The stone, or its copy to be exact, in the showcase of Karaganda History Museum. He chose that way on purpose because he wanted to ask for a blessing. It was historically considered a sacred place. This is where the Juche Khan and the Alash Khan's mausoleums are situated. It is known that Tamerlan believed in magic. He carried out a psychological maneuver too. Before the battle, Tamerlan prepared for the attack and then suddenly stopped and made a camp before the eyes of the dumbfounded Horde's warriors. He did it to show that he feared nothing and would attack later whenever he wanted. It is also said that when the battle started, a shaman wearing white clothes appeared in front of the warriors and asked the spirits to fight against the Horde too. Any methods for defeating the enemies were great. Clouds of dust swirling around hooves moved to the sky and covered the sun. The land and sky mixed together with blood made the river red, the chroniclers wrote. A huge cloud of dust was billowing over the battlefield and it was impossible to see anything. Tamerlan was standing on a hill but could not understand anything. Heralds came from the area where Toktamish was attacking. "We have been defeated, we are crushed," they said. Tamerlan gave an order to collect their things and run away when the heralds came from the other part and said that they had broken down the resistance. They crushed the enemies and were moving forward. I bribed an enemy flag holder and he promised to pull down the flag when both armies would start fighting. Toktamish's flag was removed and he ran away. The bloody battle only continued for a day. There is no information about Toktamish's losses. We only know that his troops outnumbered Tamerlan significantly. According to Persian sources, Tamerlan lost approximately 100,000 warriors. The red arrows mark the campaigns conducted against Toktamish and the Battle of Korndulcha River fought in 1391. The river was a tributary of the Ural. The battle was fought and Toktamish was defeated. After that battle in 1391, Tamerlan put another person on the throne in the Golden Horde.
Тимуру предоставляет право на ханство в Золотой Орде Кайричаку.
Chapter 3. The Face of Time. Like a devoted and obedient son, I beg you humbly to write with your precious quill of forgiveness on the paper focusing upon my mistakes. Forget my unworthy actions. I bitterly regret doing them. I dared to commit them at treacherous instigation of mean people. May just Allah punish them for it. At that time, Tamerlan was celebrating victory on the banks of the Volga. When he received Tokhtamish's letter, he got angry. He wrote the following reply to him: "The great Khan talks about my wisdom but considers me a fool. If he thinks that I'll believe his promises, you gave them many times but always broke them. A bad woodcutter always blames his axe, as Tokhtamish does his advisors."
Тимур вернулся и думал, что...
Tamerlan returned and thought that Tokhtamish would calm down. First he went through Kazakhstan to invade Tamerlan's land and then decided to approach it from the Caucasus. In 1395, Tamerlan launched a campaign against Tokhtamish again and defeated him again near the Terek River.
Тимур вновь совершает поход против Тохтамыша, разбивает его на реке Терек.
After defeating Tokhtamish, Tamerlan burnt the capital of the Golden Horde and partly burnt its smaller counterpart Sarayshik. It's interesting that after all the battles and skirmishes, Tamerlan seemed ready to forgive his disloyal protege. Tokhtamish's herald handed a letter to Tamerlan in Otra in December 1404. "I cannot stop regretting the mistakes I made. Great Emir, I lost your friendship and support because of them. However, you know that I paid dearly for those mistakes. I beg you to forget everything that happened between us and show me your kindness and mercy again." At that time, Timur was planning a campaign against the Chinese Empire. It is said that after the Chinese campaign, he was going to conquer the Jushi's Ulus and then return it to Tokhtamish. It is unknown how the wheel of history could turn, but Tamerlan died a sudden death in Otra, bringing to the end to the future of the Golden Horde.
Он разорил.
He ravaged and destroyed it. In principle, the Golden Horde lost its economic power because of him. Although the Golden Horde continued to exist after Tamerlan's death, it could not restore itself to the full strength it had been before.
И до своего былого величия.
Tamerlan was called the Master of Great Unions, also the Master of the Lucky Planetary Positions, and even the Lord of Seven Climates. Without realizing it, he helped other countries. For example, Russia in a few decades managed to get rid of the violent patron called Yoke. After this, new countries appeared on the world map.
Эмир Тимур.
For example, Tamerlan hastened the formation of the Kazakh statehood.
Момент создания казахской государственности.
It is said that the lord of another epoch, Joseph Stalin himself, wrote in textbooks that Tamerlan had defeated the Golden Horde's army. The Soviet leader attached great importance to this event as well as to Tamerlan himself. He was Stalin's favorite historical figure. Epilogue: Spots on a Stone. There are a few other stories about the stone which started a new observation of Tamerlan's history. This is one of the most questionable stories. It was planned action. Supposedly, the stone was discovered on Stalin's initiative. They said it was a fake. Again, supposedly geologist Satpayev couldn't decline this request because he was afraid of his relatives' lives. These stories are prone to being mythologized. There are a lot of unknown facts about the stone. It is said that some researchers found other coincidences mystical too. In 1936, the artifact was brought to Leningrad, and the following year went down in history as one of the bloodiest years in history. Then in 1940, the inscription was translated. Everybody knows what happened afterwards. In 1941, Tamerlan's tomb was opened in Samarkand. However, significant historical figures are often surrounded by an aura of mystery. On one hand, it often happens in order to emphasize their greatness, and the other hand, it is done to awaken deep interest in these historical figures. Thus, the majority of the mystical versions cannot avoid criticism, while the inscription was studied many times and no scientist doubted its authenticity. On reaching this place, he built this mound so it would become a memorial sign. May Allah do justice. May Allah show mercy to the people living in this great country. May they remember us and pray for us.